Okay, if I were to graph this thing right here, you guys know what it would look like?
Two dots at -3 and 4.
Okay, well, the shape, what would the shape look like? Parabola, yeah, be a parabola of some kind. And it'd be like, if you foiled it, it'd be like x squared, something. So, yeah, a positive 3 and negative 4, it would have roots, so that means it looks something like this, right? Okay, so if the question was, where is it equal to 0, the answer would have been at -4 and 3. That's where it would be equal to 0. But where is it greater than 0? Well, everything, all the x values from here to the left, because it keeps going up like this, right? So the farther you go left, all these y values over here are going to be greater than 0. All the function values are greater than 0. Or everything past 3, all these x values would make the function. So for example, if I plugged in -5 for x, I should expect to get something greater than 0. Or if I plug in +4 for x, I should expect to get something greater than 0 if my graph is there. If I plug in -5, for example, I get -8 times -1. -5 plus 4 is -1, which is +8, which is greater than 0. So when x is -5, that's going to be a solution. Or -6, or -7. These numbers will just keep getting bigger over here if I plug in -6, -7, -8. They all work. Or if I plug in 4, 4 minus 3 is 1. 4 plus 4 is 8. So if I plug in 4, it's also going to be greater than 0. So for what x values is this function greater than 0? Well, all the x values that are past -4, so x is less than -4, or all the x values that are past, oh wait, I got one of these ones, yeah, it's a 3. All the x values that are past 3, so x is greater than 3. And that would be the solution. There's kind of two ways to do this, and let's talk about both ways, and then I'm going to do one way, but, okay, x minus 1, x minus 2, x minus 4. All right, so where are the zeros of this function right here? 1, 2, and 4. Okay, so what that means is the graph is like passing through at these points. You guys know what the shape would be?
Squiggle.
Kind of like a N shape, one of these things. Because it's a cubic function, so it should have the cubic function shape. It looks something like that. Let's say we didn't remember what the shape should look like. What you could do is plug in, like, let's say x is 0 and see if the graph is up or down right here. So if I plug in 0, I get 0, 0, 0. -1 times -2 is 2 times -4 is -8. So when I plug in 0, the graph is down here in the negative. Okay, but at 1, x equals 1, it's crossing the x-axis. So if I plug in like 1.5, I should expect it to be up here, unless it's a double root. Okay, does that make sense? So if I plug in 1.5, I get 0.5 times -0.5 times -2.5. Well, anyway, if you do a negative times a negative times a positive, that's going to equal a positive. You don't really need to know exactly what it is, but I know the graph's gonna be up here in the positive. And then if I plug in x is 3,
There's a snot mark on your shorts now.
Look it off, Leo.
okay, guys,
Sorry.
if I plug in x is 3, hush, this one would be positive, this one would be positive, this one would be negative if I plug in 3, 3, and 3. So altogether it would be, if I multiply them together, it'd be what? Negative. So I should expect the graph to be negative down here. And if I plug in like 5, it'll be positive again. So if you don't remember what the graph is, just plug in stuff in, like plug an x in here, plug an x in here, plug an x in here. It kind of tells you that it's just going to go up and down like this. Okay, so the question is, where's the graph greater than 0? Where's the function greater than 0? Okay, it would be between here and here, it's positive. And it would be everything past 4 is positive. That's what greater than 0 means. So how would I say that? How do I say between 1 and 2? Yeah.
Don't. No.
Where someone just had it all the way down.
Jordan,
Mm.
whenever it does like 1 minus x, what does that mean? Because that does that on 4.
Well, what would the 0 of the function be?
1.
Yeah. But since there's a negative x, the function's negative, so the graph would look more like this than that. It would, anyway, x minus 4, x minus 2. So this one has a couple double roots, right? Do you guys know what the degree of this function is for 5?
4.
5. Got an x squared here, an x squared here, and an x. All together is x to the 5th. You guys know what shape it's going to take?
W.
It's kind of like an x, no, it's kind of like an x to the 3rd, but if you add one more power, it'll have one more curve. Or two more powers, 2 more curves, I should say. So it's got an extra hump. 2 hump camel. Okay, so we're at 2, 3, and 4.
This is where you feel like you spank.
Okay, so I know there's a double root right at 2 and right at 3. Based on our last test though, some of you never mastered the graphing part of this. So let's just plug in some stuff and see what's gonna happen here.
2.
Okay, what do you guys think? Is it gonna be positive or negative out here?
Where? Positive.
Past 2, is it gonna be positive or negative out here?
Negative.
Yeah, it's gonna be negative because it's that. But let's plug it in and see what happens. So if I plug in 1 or plug in 0, if I plug in 0, this will be a negative, right? This will be a positive because you square it. This will be a positive because you square it. Anytime you square anything, it will come out positive. So anyway, we have a negative times a positive times a positive, so it is negative out here. How about right here? You guys might not know this one. Between 2 and 3, is it going to be positive or negative?
Negative. No. Positive.
Okay, let's find out. What should I plug in to find out? How old was the child?
3.
Oh, I thought he looked
Well, let's
like
be
4.
positive.
Maybe it's because I just saw his head.
No, I'm not plug in 3.
Okay, no, we should plug in 2.5. Okay, at 3 it's gonna equal 0, right? At 3 it's gonna equal 0, so that's not gonna help us. The graph is crossing through at 3, that's what it means to be a 0, the function. So to figure out what's going on between here and here, I would need to plug in like 2.5.
Oh, we're doing that right now.
So if I plug in 2.5, is this gonna be positive or negative? Negative. This will be, these two are always gonna have to be positive on this one. So it's gonna be negative again. Why is it negative again? Because 2 is a double root. 2 is a double root, so it's bouncing right there. Okay, if I plug in 2.5, that'll tell me what's going on between these two guys. So that'll be negative, that'll be negative, positive, positive again. So that's negative. How about out here, what do you think will happen?
Positive.
Yeah, it's gotta go up. If I plug in 5, this will be positive, positive, positive. So it's up here. So if you knew what the graph looked like, you could have just drawn that and said, this is where it's negative, this is where it's positive. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're good at graphing, I would say just make a little sketch and then answer the question. Okay, this one says less than 0 though. Where's the function less than 0?
Sorry, I'm all a little distracted.
Well, it's not less than 0 out here.
Less than 0 is
Okay, you could say x is less than 2,
Mm-hmm.
or between 2 and 3, and between 3 and 4. But there's probably a better way of saying this. I think this is how the book said it, probably. I don't really look, but it's probably how they said it. X is less than 4, all these are less than 0 except for,
Babies, yeah.
but x cannot equal 2 or 3. Does that make sense?
Kind of.
All these values for x, the function is negative,
Mm-hmm.
except for at 2 and 3, so you kind of make these little exceptions. You could write it a different way, but that's the easiest way to write it.
But the line's also going up after the 4, so couldn't. Sorry. Couldn't.
Okay, the question is where is it less than 0 at?
Okay.
Just because Frederick's beating his child.
He's not going down without a fight.
Okay.
That's what we heard outside of your house. It's just you screwing.
No, not right now.
Okay, shh, guys. What do you think we should do first on 7?
In fact,
Yeah, they did not factor this one for us. So let's do that. Well, what shape, this will be kind of an easy one. What shape is this gonna take? Parabola. How does this factor, what goes, what,
Negative 5, positive 3.
yeah, what multiplies into that, that adds up to that. So the zeros of the function will be where? Negative 3 and 5. Now, okay, that means it's crossing the x-axis at negative 3 and 5. Is this parabola going to be like a smiley face or a frowny?
smiling.
Smiley, because it's a positive x squared, so it'll be a normal. Okay, and the question is, where is the graph less than 0? Where's the function less than 0?
Negative 3 to 5.
Yep, between here, negative 3 and 5. How do we write between negative 3 and 5?
Negative 3. X greater than 5.
What's that?
Less than. No.
Baby got real quiet all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Baby got quiet.
Someone should go check on him.
did he say why he brought the kid?
Yes, take care, take care.
Take him now. Take him now.
His mom is doing something else probably.
Isn't K College free for people who work here?
I don't know.
I think that's pretty good.
It's probably half price like everything else.
Works. No, I said she just bring him. Oh. She probably does every day.
Okay, so how does this factor? What goes into 2x squared?
2x and x.
2x times x. What goes into negative 3? Negative 3 and 1. And remember you have to put it so that when you FOIL it, outside inside gives you this middle term. So 2x minus 3x is negative 1x.
So that means it's.
Okay, if you really had to, you could use quadratic formula to do this. It'd be a lot of extra work. But so, either way you should get it. You should get, if you did quadratic, you should get this too, right? 3 halves and negative 1. So that's the zeros of the function. That's where it's crossing the x-axis. 1.5 and negative 1. Okay, what shape is it? It's another parabola, so it's just going to be kind of like the last one. Except for this time it's asking where is it greater than or equal to 0.
So would you just put the same thing except
Yeah.
with the line?
No.
Yeah, outside.
No, last time it said less than 0, so that meant where is it negative. This time it's greater than, so that means where is it positive. Where is it greater than 0? Here and here. So yeah, it'll be positive to the left, positive to the right.
Is this where you do the or?
Yeah, it's like number 1. So x is going to be less than or equal to negative 1 should work, or greater than or equal to 3 halves. I was gonna say something, I forgot what it was. Oh, why did I put less than or equal to instead of just less than this time?
Because it has on the, so.
Yeah. So at x equals negative 1, it's equal to 0. So you need to include negative 1 as an answer. Anyway, if this has equals to, these should have equals to. How far should we go?
12.
It gets harder as we go. So if we
Not very hard.
get maybe
12.
15.
Wow.
Or 16, I guess I should say. You guys don't
We'd still be doing the same amount. Because we don't do odd. We do even.
Slow down.
Stretching.
those are challenging.
3. 13.
Try. That's like
Totally the same thing.
Alright, 2x squared plus 5x minus 7.
No, I already got some. Not much, but we got. I already drank it all. No.
Alright, so what goes into 2x squared? 2x times x. What goes into negative 7?
Positive 7 and negative 2, or negative 1.
Yeah. 7 and negative 1. We want the negative 1 to be paired with the 2, and the 7 to be paired with the x, because that will make 5x. So it's another parabola, again.
So it's 3.
So at x equals 1 and x equals negative 7 halves, or negative 3.5, square cylinder, so another one of these. This time we want less than or equal to 0. Where's that happening? Less than 0 means negative, so where's it negative? In the middle here. So it's a between one. Between -7/2 and 1. X4 minus 3x squared minus 10. Less greater than 0. Alright, you guys remember how we did these? Did you guys get this one right in the test?
I think so. Never mind,
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
what goes into x to the 4th?
X squared.
it's okay.
What goes into -10?
5 positive 2.
That adds up to 3. Come on. So we need x squared minus 5 to equal 0, or we need x squared plus 2 to equal 0. So if we add 5 and then square root it, what will this become?
Plus or minus square root 5. And plus or minus square root 2.
No.
Oh, wait, no, 2 plus or minus 2i.
Plus or
I
minus
squared
2.
Yeah. Okay. Imaginary answers are not, they're not real, so they're not, there's not a 0 at these spots.
Oh,
So even though there's 4 roots, there's only 2 real roots. In other words, on the graph, it's only gonna cross twice. So what shape does x to the 4th make? W. So that means the W is only gonna cross a couple times, so it must, so square root of 5 is about like, I don't know, 2.3 or something. So it'll be somewhere in here. So it's a W, but the W must not cross more than 2 times. So it would have to look like that, something like that. Does that make sense? There's only 2 real roots. The imaginary roots means it doesn't really cross right there, it doesn't exist right there. So it's basically like the parabola, because everything on the right and everything on the left is positive and everything in the middle is negative. Again, if you weren't sure, you could plug in like, well, what if x is 0? You get a negative and a positive, so it's negative down here. Anyways, so where's this graph, where's this function greater than 0 at? All the x values less than negative square root of 5 and all the x values greater than positive square root of 5. That's where it's positive. You could also, do you know how to graph on your calculator?
Nope.
I'll show you real quick.
no.
You could like plug it into your calculator and it'll throw a picture up like this. It might be faster if you know it's like a parabola not to do that, but if you're not sure. All right, we'll finish on this one today.
Oh,
All right, did you guys get this one right in the test? How do you guys think we could factor this?
Grouping.
Grouping.
I said it first.
Okay, just because it's a cube, does grouping necessarily work? No, but I think it will on this one. If we take out an a squared in the front two, we get a plus 2 is left. What should we take out on the back two?
-4.
Thank you, Trey.
Yeah.
Very helpful.
Did you do the thing again where we still somebody?
Yes.
No. What did Latin? I don't know.
A2 minus 4. A squared.
A2. Just make it away. Just let me get this.
Let me have this.
Eighth graders say A2. I hate you.
Does that mean,
I was trying to say it properly.
Okay, do you guys know what the answers are going, the roots are going to be?
There's one more double root.
By -2 and plus or minus 2.
Okay,
ah,
so that means -2 is a double root.
Yep.
What shape should this take? I'm going to do the shape version on this one.
Or, yeah.
weird.
Let's call it an N. Because that's the best I got for it. Oh, squiggle's the best name. Anyway, something is happening at 2 and -2. And it's a positive a cube, so it will be going down to up, just like this. But there's a double root at -2. So what does that mean is going to happen?
Balance. I think it's it.
Bounce. So it must look like that. All right. So where is this function greater than 0 at?
After.
All the x values that are greater than 2. All right, and then come check your number 2, and I'll show you how to put that one in.
How was like number 5 another spot?
No, number 6.
So you go to y
Oh,
equals 6,
I'm not.
and you plug the function in. So it's like number 4.
Yeah.
It was.
It's, problem is it kind of takes a while to plug it in. So it's there's your variable. And then just hit graph. Well, okay, that's the graph, but
No, you don't have to. That's more just for help.
Oh, okay.
something strange here. It's not supposed to do. Well, that's what it looks like. It should have like the X and Y.
Oh, yeah.
Like the settings are pretty similar. You mind if I try
You're
to
looking at
put
it, yeah.
defaults there?
Oh, okay. Oh, I forgot this.
What did you guys get on number 2?
2.
It says memory.
What'd you get?
Let's see if that does.
X is greater than -7.
That's also
And-
what we got.
And what else?
Are you kidding me?
Like you went to the program.
You want to explain to them why we were screaming outside your house?
Huh?
I just do not know if you went to the
Not
program.
really.
Exactly.
That was screaming. No.
No, it was a couple of weeks ago.
What was he doing?
Let me quit.
I was banging on Drew's door.
Maybe it
were screaming in the shower.
I still have
What's this one never happened, Bryce? What was this?
What do you mean the food?
When was it? It was like 3 weeks ago at his house.
Oh, when y'all like
stood.
Yeah.
savage.
Yeah.
Yes.
I haven't had any.
That's what.
No.
We heard banging, screaming, and really loud music.
I can just see neighbors walking by. Yeah, that's the family from South Carolina.
You folks?
Yeah.
Man,
South Dakota.
South Dakota. Wherever you're from, I don't care.
South Carolina.
South Carolina.
Yeah.
That's where
Okay.
you're from.
And then,
From South Dakota, migrate to Oklahoma. There are a lot of South Dakotans that are at. Well, people from
press, you get press enter on
Johnstown,
that.
Brookings,
They're
they're migrating here. Like Pastor Joe.
yeah.
Yeah.
It
My
is
great
migrating.
grandparents were from South Dakota. I was born in South Dakota. They didn't move to the worst place.
And there's a lot of tricks you can do.
Yeah, you would. One of the little corn shucking. Yeah, lad. X is less than -9 or X is greater than second.
What shape will this take? Gravel up. Make a little gravel.
Good job.
Yeah.
Good, it's what you got. You gave your best effort. And that's all that matters. For someone like you.
You should
So
also
what's gonna happen
Trey.
at 3 and then
you should also tell him what you did to Jack.
Put it on. Put it on at negative
No
7.
shot. No shot.
Dude.
I'll tell Sam.
No.
Let's say that's negative 7, not negative 9. This gets a little
I
bright.
can only imagine
Or what happened in the hallway.
the horrors.
The question is, where is this gonna be greater than?
With that
0?
one night, I could
Yeah.
expose you so hard.
When the function is above the x-axis, that means its value is greater than 0. So where is the function greater than 0?
No, Colby's the intelligent one. He just
For
sat
all the
there
x
and watched.
values that are less than
We wouldn't do what Jack did.
the function is gonna be up here. So you say x
Which
is
makes
less
him
than
smart.
No.
Jack will do anything.
Where else is
Jesus.
the function above the x-axis?
Square the survive.
Yes. Alright, try 4. What's shape will number 4 take? Squiggle, we can't get away from it, yeah. That one.
Yes, sir, Jordy.
On
this there,
Could
Could I just multiply by -1 and then just?
If you multiply by -1, the inequality would switch, but yeah. that's
We
better.
were like sitting in your basement. We're like,
Guys, on number
this is
10,
different.
you might want to multiply everything by -1 to make it easier to factor. But if you multiply by -1, the inequality is going to switch directions. So that would be my advice, though.
You on
No, number
this is
4.
on
Yeah.
4.
So it's a squiggle. But guys, on number 4, since there's a negative x, in there, it's actually a negative x cubed squiggle. So it'll actually be like this, upside down.
Oops. That means something.
Number 4, since it says 1 minus x, if you multiply the negative x times the x times the x, you get a negative x cubed function. So it's actually going to be an upside down squiggle. Is that the only one like that? Kind of, yeah.
So did you write exactly 5?
Leo, I'm going to start calling you Grant.
Steve Bart's more than anyone.
Yeah, we didn't do it.
Grant said he was thinking about giving me his NHS recommendation letter, and he said, but except for the farts. So he didn't.
Seek medical attention, please. So how do you still write it? Would you write it like 5 or would you write it like 3?
Well, that's what the picture's for, to figure out.
walk straight back, like, no concern in the world, walk straight back, there's a fart that appeared out of nowhere, and we were like, Hannah, was that you? She was like, no, that wasn't me. Anyways, she was like, oh, but if I did, everybody does fart, so it's okay. And we're like, Hannah, that was you, it smelled awful, like, the worst thing, it's, like, really bad.
Grant did it at practice and Paxton almost threw up.
Paxton, get over it.
No,
He's in Grant's class. He
it
should
was
know by now.
disgusting. Pretty sure it was when Timmy was sick.
Are you saying poor Paxton or poor Grant?
Oh, Grant.
He doesn't deserve you people.
What?
Grant's the one torturing other people.
He's the one destroying our ozone
Oh, I'm
layer.
still